Hey everybody, I am already in a bad mood doing this video. It's not something that I want to talk about or that I typically talk about, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is my public therapy, so this is something that plagues me on a daily basis, so I might as well talk about it. I'll just put it out there and, put it back if you don't want it, pick it up if you do. So I have multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed when I was 20. The prime of your life, right? It was May of 2001, and I was about to turn 21, because I was born in 80, so it's pretty easy to remember how old I am based on the years. So anyway, so it was May 2001. I was about to turn 21 in September, and I'm smacked with this shit diagnosis of MS. So at the time, I was going to college full-time. I was working at a car dealership, which was, I worked a lot of jobs. I also worked at the YMCA, like the circuit training in the fitness room. I did that. I worked at Victoria's Secret. I was a bra specialist. I was also a lifeguard at school and at the Hilton Hotel when they hired lifeguards for a hot minute. That was a good gig. But it's ironic, right? I did all of these physical jobs, and here I am in a wheelchair. Sorry, I love wearing cozy clothes, and it's fall, so I'm in. Thermals, cozy stuff. That's me. That's my jam. Anyway, so I'm probably gonna ramble. I apologize in advance. I don't really have anything prepared, like I said. But I was diagnosed with MS when I was 20. And here I am approaching 40. So I've been diagnosed, as long as I've been alive. More of my conscious life has been diagnosed with MS. It wasn't an issue really initially. I was diagnosed because I remember very vividly, I was going to Marshall's with my girlfriend, my sorority sister, Stace, my big sister, and I was bending over, trying things on, and every time I bent over, I would get that, tingling in your spine. There is a word for it, escaping me right now. So, anyway. And then, when I was working at the car dealership, my left eye, I guess, would get all twitchy, which is optic neuritis. That's a big symptom of MS. And my right arm was going like pins and needles. Not asleep, but pins and needles. So it was my left eye, my right arm. So that doesn't really make sense. If it was a pinched nerve or something, it would all be on the same side. So at the time, I'm still seeing my pediatrician because all my other videos are on narcissistic abuse, if you followed me. So I've had a narcissistic mother, and nobody gave a shit in terms of helping me to progress through self-care or anything like that. So anyway, I was still going to a pediatrician. So when I started having this problem, I was like, alright, let me go check this out. So I went to the pediatrician, who then sent me to a pediatric neurologist, did MRIs and all of that, and they found spots in my brain and my spine, I guess. And then, I'll never, the guy called me, Dr. Warren. He called me, I don't know, maybe I was at work or something, and he was like, I think you have MS. I'm going to refer you to a specialist. I was like, okay, thanks. So first I ever heard of this nightmare. So I went to UMDNJ. It's I don't know, it's a big place to go for MS. There's an MS specialty center there, I guess. So Dr. Packner, he's very renowned. So he was the first neurologist that had the honor of breaking the news to me that I had multiple sclerosis. Again, I was 20 years old, and I went to this appointment with my narcissistic mother and enabling father, and this doctor was very adamant about me starting one of the interferon drugs, one of the ABC drugs, which is, they were, I'm like so old now, but back in the day, they were needles and you had to give yourself injections. So my narc mother was like, no, she's not doing that. Okay, thanks. Thanks for giving a shit about my well-being and what's best for me. This doctor couldn't say it enough that if I was his daughter, he would have started me immediately on these interferon drugs. But no, went out of that appointment with no medications, no proactive steps, nothing. Just like a bunch of information and doing nothing about it. So my narcissistic mother, in true to form, just brushed it under the rug like she does everything else. And that was my first, experience with MS. So I was diagnosed. Anyway, fast forward, I think it was like the following year, maybe. Yeah, I turned 21 in September, started drinking like a fish, partying like a rock star, and, throwing caution to the wind in regard to my physical situation, my health. Nobody in my toxic upbringing cared about me, so I wasn't taught self-care, self-awareness, or any of those important things, so that was not on my radar. And I was 21, so I was pretty irresponsible. So I started dating the narcissist because, so much to incorporate into this story. But I met my husband, my soulmate, the love of my life. Look, I have a picture right here. I don't know if this will translate. That's my husband, Joe. That's one of our wedding pictures. My boob is hanging out, but I was pregnant at the time. Anyway, so I met Joe freshman year of college, FDU, and I was dating an older jerk, probably another narcissist. But, God bless Joe. He was always so kind and nurturing and loving, and he just came in with all of these amazing qualities, and I was so damaged from my horrific upbringing. So anyway, Joe and I were going like hot and heavy freshman year, even into sophomore year, and we were talking about like getting an apartment, moving in together, starting our life, and I bailed because I was not used to being loved and treated with respect and consideration because of my narcissistic mother, enabling father, and that torture that I underwent growing up. Anyway, so I broke up with Joe. So I got with another jerk, treated me terribly, ended up breaking up with him. So now I'm working at the car dealership, and I start to get involved with Date, my manager, who was such a malignant, awful narcissist. No consideration for anyone but himself. So he was treating me terribly, so I was like, oh, perfect, this is for me. This is what I know. So that relationship was torture. It was on and off for like 5 years, and it was so volatile. Like every other week was a breakup, and, gaslighting, toxic amnesia on his part, crazy making, gaslight, like all of the horrible things associated with a narcissist. That's what this situation was. So that was so unhealthy for me. Like stress, they always say stress is terrible on your physical body, and that is absolutely true. So anyway, I was in New York with this person that I was dating. And we went to go see the Christmas tree. And we're walking around, and I'm wearing, probably like cheap boots. Sometimes ladies, when you get cheap shoes, they're like really heavy. So I'm wearing like these cheap boots, pretty heavy. So we're walking around, and all of a sudden, we're walking back to the parking garage to the car, and I started to have trouble picking up my feet. Craziest, most indescribable feeling I could ever convey. I don't even know how to put it into words, you guys. It was the first time anything like this ever happened to me. So I'm having trouble picking up my feet. It felt like there were cinder blocks on the end of, I guess that's the best way to describe it. So I'm not walking properly. We're going back to the car, and we make it, thankfully. But that was the first, disruptive physical symptom I ever had with MS. I mean, I did start out with the optic neuritis and the pins and needles, but that was, pretty insignificant. It wasn't impairing my physical ability. But this walking issue, that was extreme. That was intense. It was horrible. I was mortified. I was embarrassed. I was upset. I was confused. So that was my first encounter with not being able to pick up my feet, my first ambulatory problem with MS. So that was, I don't know, maybe that was 2002 or something. I don't know, but all the way up until 2005, I was on and off with this narcissistic creep who was treating me horribly the entire relationship. Again, I don't even like applying these terms of endearment to this situation because it was terrible. It was toxic. It was awful. Anyway, so thank God, by the grace of God, my husband and I, Joe, the love of my life, we rekindled, the narcissist and I, he discarded me. He just stopped. He just ghosted me. We were living in the same house, and he just, bad situation. I'll do another video on that, but he totally discarded me. Totally. Just stopped speaking to me. Everything. We had a wedding planned, and thankfully it was, far out. It was for the following year. But I already had my wedding dress, bridesmaids, and he totally just blew me off. I didn't even exist. So I dated a couple people after that. Again, although I'm still ambulatory, during that tumultuous 5 years, I did have a few treatments for MS. I was hospitalized because I was working full-time. I had left the car dealership, and I started working at Tiffany & Company, the, fabulous jewelers, but I was working at the corporate office here in New Jersey, and it was an amazing experience. It's a wonderful corporation. Super kind people. It was a wonderful experience. They were so good to me. Anyway, so, where was I going with this? So on and off, I had difficulties, walking. That was my biggest hurdle with the MS thing. So, it was, I've always had relapsing remitting MS, they call it. When you have an exacerbation, you recover. Sometimes you totally recover, sometimes not entirely, whatever. But that's what I had. So during this time, I had several treatments. I started off with Rebif. That was my first interferon treatment. And I was doing the needles, and that was 3 times a week. And whatever. My narcissistic ex just ate that up with a fork and a knife, like loved it. Like he was helping me with the injections and stuff, so he was a big hero. But so I started with Rebif. I did IVIG when I was in the hospital. Well, actually, back it up. I think my first treatment was corticosteroids, and they were pretty amazing. Like I felt like Superwoman after I had them. Like I could take on the world because they're steroids, and it totally like beefs you up, makes you feel like Superwoman, like amazing. But of course, I had hip pain because of these corticosteroids. So the doctors didn't want to take any chances that, because one of the rare but most severe side effects is that your hips could blow out from these steroids. So they didn't want to cause me any more harm than they were helping me. So that was off the table, that treatment. So I did IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin or something. It's like, I don't know. I've done so many. Mitoxantrone, which was a chemotherapy. I've done Tysabri. I've done Ampera, was an oral medication to help you walk better. Been there, done that. I did Tecfidera, which was an oral medication. What else? I just started Ocrevus, and I'm praying. I've heard wonderful things about it, so I've had 3 of them so far. I do it every 6 months. I just did it the end of August, and I pray that, you know, it will be effective and, you know, help me. So, but the reason why I'm doing the YouTube channel, the Instagram account, like I said, it's like my public therapy. I have heard that your spiritual body is so much stronger than your physical body. So I'm working on all my emotional crap and, you know, all of this trauma that I have inside because of my toxic upbringing from my evil family of origin, and my narcissistic ex treated me horrifically. So I've got all of this, you know, abuse to overcome. So I'm trying to do that with my YouTube channel and my Instagram, and, you know, I would love to help people along the way, because YouTube is what helped me. Anyway, you seem like I'm always like all over the place in this damn chair because it's so uncomfortable. So anyway, I don't know. So if you guys like this video, if you like this topic, just drop me a thumbs up or give me a comment or something. I have plenty to speak about here. MS started out like as a whisper in the background, I'll say, and then it started like tapping me on the shoulder, and then it's just like clear in my face now with the damn wheelchair, and I'm super disabled, and it sucks. It's a nightmare. I'm a mother of 2 beautiful young children, 6-year-old and 8-year-old daughters. You know, our son Joey passed away, which is tragic. You know, that was in 2013, so that was 6 years ago now, which is bananas. I can't even. So, sorry, you guys, I'm so uncomfortable. Anyway, so Joey passed away in like 2013, which was horrific, and I gave birth 4 days prior to Joey passing, so that was a lot of trauma on my body, no doubt. I was still mobile and driving and all that. Gosh, anyway, so this annoys me to even speak about it, but the last time I drove a vehicle was June of 2014. I remember this because we came back from the Outer Banks vacation. We had to drop my car off to get it serviced, and I remember driving the car there. My husband was following me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so uncomfortable. I did not like doing that. So that was the last time I drove a car. So here I am, home with the dog all day, every day. Like, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. Don't get me wrong. I am so grateful for this life because I was raised in such toxicity, being treated like such crap, that I'm so grateful for my husband and our beautiful children and our dog and our home. And I'm so grateful. So very, very grateful. But MS is BS. It pisses me off like I can't even express. Anyway, like I said, drop me a thumbs up if you like this, if you want me to speak more about MS, because I have so much to say. God bless you guys.